I went out here and I shot a little bit of golf out here. I ended up putting my golf thing on my figure 8 racetrack that I have made out in the yard. But it's just ground level because the car don't stay in it all the time. You could drive it slow and stay on the thing and keep points, of course. Now, my point is, you know, here I've had. It's a nice sunny day. There's no reason why I shouldn't have fun either. And I'll tell you what, there's a woman right here that's on Chatterbait, and she really does resemble a woman that looks like she could be a member of my wife's family. It looks just like my wife, by the way. That I go in and I'll just give her a $20 tip. And the first time I did it, she just jumped and danced. I didn't want her to fall out her window, and I didn't want her to get too excited. But boy, oh boy, she sure did get excited over $20. So anyway, that's been a week. And I see her on one of my cameras. I got a bunch of monitors in my house because when I go and I start researching things, I can put up this one here, this stuff here, and go over it and pick and choose what's correct, especially on news when I'm looking at news organizations, what they're saying and if it's correct. You know, because Fox News does not say correct information, and that's the only news organization that my brother-in-law, I believe, watches because my they've asked me where I get my information, and I tell them that I get my information off of a broad range you know, of companies that's on the internet. And I said, how about PBS? PBS, I said, it's none of these here broadcasts. This is public broadcasting. What do they have going on around the world? I said, that's a good one to go to. And I didn't mention Fox or MSNBC or, you know, CNN or uh, cable network news. I think there's one out there called. There's multiple of them out there that I see. But what I like going to is I like to go in on YouTube and seeing what the people are uploading. 15 minutes ago this is what this happened. 15 minutes ago that's what that happened. And then I'm also seeing the news and stuff, what's going on. And I also have YouTube TV. I think it's YouTube Premium. I have YouTube Premium and I have YouTube TV to keep me up on information when I want to look at it. Generally, I don't watch the news. I knew Donald Trump was having a terrible time. I have watched the news as of lately. It does get me upset. Oh, that's a beautiful Corvette, by the way. I used to have a Corvette. It got destroyed by my nephew over here because I believe they were trying to tell me something. Like he said, I can't tell you, I can't tell you. That's the same thing Marietta was telling me. That's the other thing that other people were telling me. You know, and when I look over things, I think of, gosh, how many times have I got a confession out of people? I got my grandmother's confession, on her deathbed, what she's telling me about those clothes up the top of the stairway. There's a man with a story. The story's about you, John. I was being held in a cage. When I came there one time earlier uh, with my mother years earlier because they were talking about having that property, a highway being shot across my grandma's property, and it didn't happen, but they had to have a powwow. And I took my mother down there, and my sister Bonnie wanted to take her, but my mother didn't want that to happen. I mean, I don't know exactly why. But anyway, I live right there at Marietta's. It's more convenient. I just drive her and bring her right back to her house when it's done. So anyway, I took her to a meeting down there, and Marietta came in before me. Marietta's my mother, and I was behind her, and boy, my grandma looked behind her to see who was with her, and all of a sudden she goes, Johnny! She just, Johnny! You know, my mother ultimately, she tells me, like, not real soon. I mean, I know we went home and drove home and stuff, and it might have been days or weeks, maybe a long time. But my mother went out of the way to tell me that nobody responds. My mother don't respond to anybody like she responds to you, John. Well, I didn't know why. Well, just because I was named a little bit after her dad, I believe. I found out her dad's name was John. You know. I also found out her dad was John from the Barnum Circus, or the Barnum and Bailey Circus. They were a Madison that married into the Baileys. You know, it's a stunt family. My grandmother was taller than me, but her husband Marietta's dad, is 5'1". I mean, 4'11", 5'1". I mean, there was there's just not too much there. And I had met him one time over at my Aunt Patty's house. There was a guy there in a Dodge pickup, nice truck, nice truck, Right there, he had a nice truck. There's panel on the side and stuff like that. And my aunt put me on the spot, goddamn, they put me on the spot for something that I'm not prepared for. And she says, I want you to meet somebody. I don't know who it is. And all of a sudden, here's this guy said, come to me, I'm your grandpappy, like this. And I just looked at him and said, no, you're not my grandpappy. I said, my grandpa's over there in Brushbury, Washington. He's buried in the cemetery, and I'm not realizing that this guy's boy is buried in the cemetery next to my step grandfather. If they would have let me meet this guy on a little different, I guess it could have been okay. But my aunt should have walked me down to the pond, and told me this was going to happen. And I got to tell you, this is the same pond where my aunt had me bring my brother Jim down. Bring my brother Jim down to a party, and there was a fight there along the way. Now, I don't know if it was before or after. It must have been before this. I mean, I just walked off. My Aunt Pat couldn't be offended of me not going there. I mean, I handled it correctly, but, I was taught that this guy was just a no-good son of a bitch by my mother. I mean, I just shut it off. I just couldn't go there. I already witnessed a boy being murdered in front of me. And after this period of time, it'll be bring Jim down to my aunt's house. My brother Jim, he ends up, we're at a party at my aunt's house. She wants us to come down to have a party at this big party and stuff down there. And I drive my 67 El Camino down there that has a 396 in it. I mean, it's like a racing car. And Jim's with me. There's a party going on. I'm up at the A-frame. There's ponds down below. I could see them through the window and stuff. Lots of people. I see my Uncle Ted out there running around going like this, having a party. He's having a barbecue over there. I see him across the way a little ways. I see other people around. Aunt Pat's got her thing going on. I look down there at my brother Jim. He makes eye contact with me, and all of a sudden, he has a beer in his hand like this, drinks beer, reaches over there, grabs a pitchfork, stands up, just throws it straight into the water, which slammed right into the side of a fish. And then I go down there, what have you done? He says, I got a fish. He says, I go, Jesus Christ. He says, it's over there. He says, it's hooked to that pitchfork. And I said, I seen the pitchfork, you know. And I said, what are you going to do? You out get me kicked out of this place? And he says, you better get that out of there, you know. And I fucking, Jesus Christ, I put on this spot. I go over there and I get this, and I just get it off of the pond as low as I can, this fish, over the hill, down to the little washougal that runs around my uncle's property, you know, because he's got fish there. He's made himself a little fish hatchery like I'd like to have. You know, I want a fish hatchery is what I'd like to have in Washington State, and it looks like we got government funding for it too now. But I've been on that for a while. Maybe I have ESP, because I'll tell you what, the girl that I gave $20 worth today, she's right here. She's beautiful. And I'll tell you what, she loves me because I'm just cool. I'm John. I drop her $20 off at a time, and I say, have fun, honey. You know, and she puts on the best show for me, like my wife. I mean, if I could, I would. So, anyway, it's nice to be here today. It's nice to talk to you guys. You know, I seen a sheriff drive by, just nice and slow, look through my window, and oh, I just tell you, I waved to him because I want them to goddamn get the effect. Why? I've been here since 2017. I was asked once if I ever planned to go to town again. Well, now I'm looking for a car. You know, now I lost 100 pounds. I've been getting in shape for the last year. You know, and when I realized that my dad was this D.B. Cooper, and this was about the ripoff, and this was about the Zodiac Killer and everything. Now they don't want to play no more. But until then, they kept me stirred up like a goddamn bee's nest. And I don't think that's fair. And I think that if you watch the videos, you'll understand how this has been going up and down. 13 minutes flat for the Zodiac.